Hello students, welcome to physics class. Today we are going to start up with a new lesson, chapter 3, laws of motion. In this chapter we are going to see what is a contact and non-contact forces, Newton's laws of motion, that is Newton's first law of motion, Newton's second law of motion, Newton's third law of motion and gravitation. So let us start up with a contact and non-contact force. Okay, so first of all, what is this force? Okay, so let's see what is this forces and their effects. So you know what is force, right? So what do you observe in these pictures? The first one is tug of war, okay, drawing back a bow, raising a flag, pulling a box, opening the door. So what is there in common? They are pulling or pushing something, right? So in this picture also you can see. So when you pull or push, what do you say? You say it as a force. Okay, a force is nothing but a push or a pull. We call it as a force. Okay, so can you see the force? No, right? So you cannot see a force, but you can see what it does, right? You can also feel the effects of force on your body. Okay, so what can a force do? Okay, what are the effects of force? I told you, you cannot see the force, you feel the effect of force. If somebody is pushing you, so you go front, right? So when they push, you feel the effect that you go front, right? Those are the effects of force. Let's see some of the effects of force, what a force can do. Okay, so a force can make an object move. So when you push, an object can move. It can change the state of rest or of motion of a body. Okay, force changes motion. So when you apply force or kick the ball which is at rest, what happens to the ball? It moves, right? So the ball which is at rest starts moving when you apply force, right? So we can say a force is required to make a body at rest to move. A force can make a moving object stop. A fielder on the ground stops a moving ball by applying a force with his hand. So we can say a force can make a moving object stop. Okay, a force can change the direction of a moving object. So you can see when you play a cricket. So when you hit the ball through the bat, so what happens to the ball? The direction of the moving of the ball changes, right? So it changes the direction of moving, it moves in another direction. So we can say a force can change the direction of a moving object. Next one, a force can change the shape of an object. So when you press a ball, so what happens to the ball? It changes its shape, right? So when you press a spring or a balloon, what happens to those? It changes its shape and size, right? So from this we can say a force can change the shape of an object. Okay, when a force is applied on the pedal by the cyclist, the speed of the cycle increases. A freely falling object continuously gains speed due to the earth's pull acting along its direction of motion. Okay, the speed of a moving vehicle is slowed down by applying the brakes. From this we can say a force can change the speed of a moving body. So what a force can do? It can change the speed of a moving body. So what are the effects of force? A force can make a stationary body move. A force can make a moving body stop. The third one, a force can change the direction of moving object. The fourth one is force can change the shape and size of a body. And the fifth one is a force can change the speed of a moving object. Okay. Forces are classified into two categories, namely contact force and non-contact force. So what is this contact and non-contact force? A contact force is when two interacting objects are physically touching. Okay, so for example, friction applied force, air resistance. All these are example for contact force. And non-contact force are at a distance force. When two interacting objects are not touching each other, we say that as non-contact force. For example, gravity, magnetic force, electric force are the examples of non-contact forces. So a contact force, the force which are applied on a bodies by making a physical contact, are called the contact force. That we are going to see it in today's class. So what are contact forces? The forces which are applied on bodies by making a physical contact are called the contact forces. These forces are produced and experienced when a body comes into contact with another body. Okay. Examples of contact forces are the force of friction, normal reaction force, force of tension exerted by a string, force exerted by a spring, force exerted on two bodies during collision, etc. So we'll see these one by one. The first one is frictional force. Force of friction is the force which opposes the motion of an object over a surface. Okay, a ball rolling on a ground gradually slows down and comes to a stop due to force of friction. If we stop paddling a bicycle, it gradually slows down and comes to a stop due to force of friction. So a force of friction is nothing but a force which opposes the motion, right? So when a body slides over a rough surface, a force starts acting on a body in the direction opposite to the motion of a body along the surface in contact. This is called the frictional force or force of friction. So when a book placed on a table top is pushed to the right, the force of friction acts on the books towards the left. This force resists the motion of the book on the table. Okay. So a force of friction is nothing but a force which opposes the motion of an object. Okay. Next we will see normal reaction force. So when a body is placed on a surface, the body exerts a force downwards equal to its weight on the surface, but the body does not move because the surface exerts an equal and opposite force on the body normal to the surface, which is called the normal reaction force. For example, when you hold a book on your palm, the book exerts a force due to its weight downwards on your palm, and you have to exert a reaction force upwards on the book normal to the palm to keep the book in position. You can have one more example. So when you keep a book on a table or a block on a table, so the block exerts a force on the table downwards and the table exerts an equal reaction force upwards normal to the table. Okay, so this is the normal reaction force. Let's recall. So in today's class we have seen what is a force, the effects of force, and what are contact and non-contact force. In that we have seen the examples of contact force. The first one is frictional force, and the second we have seen normal reaction force. Okay, that's all for today. Go through the video. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. So we'll meet you in the next class.